doing intermittent fasting, and I just changed the diet. Like I upped my protein and doing.
Oh, the protein
shakes.
Prepare yourself. I was not carrying on with this chair. Your face.
Good evening, guys. I'd like to call this meeting of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission to order. Please silence all your cell phones and electronic devices and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lisa, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Jerry Valentine,
Here.
Darcy Kaplan. Here. Angela Brown. Jenny Slopes.
Here.
Keith Gosha.
Here.
Jasper DeChristopher. Tara Shields.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read the adopted policy. The adopted policy of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission is that each applicant and agenda item will be given 10 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. The chair will allow questions from the commission members in order to provide a timely and orderly discussion of business for consideration. Finally, the audience will then be given up to 3 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate, and all comments from the audience must be addressed to the chairperson. Lisa, would you verify the meeting was advertised?
Yes, on, in the August 5th, 2023 Delaware Gazette.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from 8/8/23. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I don't remember if I was here.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mr. Gosha,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan,
Abstain.
Ms. Slopes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, our first item on the agenda is BZC 18-003, filed by MI Homes of Central Ohio, 4131 Worth Avenue, Suite 260, Columbus, Ohio, 43219. The applicant is applying for a final development plan for Berlin Farms West, Section 2. I think it's Phase 2. Formerly Long Hill, parcels 418-240-01-057-001, plus or minus 18.41 acres, Berlin Station Road, Delaware, Ohio, 43015. Present zoning is an R3 planned residential development to develop 55 lots per plan for Phase 2. With that, identify yourself, please.
Good evening, my name is Andy Gottesman with MI Homes, Gottesman, 4131 Worth Avenue. And I'm here this evening to seek your approval for the Phase 2 final development plan for Berlin Farm West. We've been open in our model for about the last 30 days at Berlin Farm, which is on the east side of the Peanut, and we're doing really, really well. If Jake looks tired, it's because we've sold 30 houses since we opened in March, and so we're keeping him very, very busy. So happy to answer any questions and go from there.
Okay, Keith, would you like to start? Do you have any questions?
I didn't have any questions.
Okay.
Just had a couple minor things.
Sure.
So I do have some questions. I know that this is the second section, 55 homes, and I was reading the text, and it's been 4 years since we saw it. So I was trying to refresh my memory. But it talks about the type A homes, the type B homes. What's on this? Which are these? Are these all type B? Are they all?
These are all,
Blend? What is this?
these are the front, this is all the front load section, so the slightly smaller lots, so they're 70-foot lots that are front loaded in this section, of phase 2 that we're looking at today.
Okay, because that was my next question.
So the simple kind of dividing line is really right down the middle.
Okay.
That on this side are all of this, basically on the east side of the development is the side load garages.
Okay.
And then on the west side, all of this is all of the front load garages.
So these are 70-foot lots, all front load. And what is the square foot of these lots?
Don't have the committee memory, but I'm happy to look at
Yeah,
it.
so I was looking, they looked smaller than what our zoning resolution called for, but that was not a divergence asking for smaller lots. So I just wanted to confirm.
We spent a lot of time last May, June going through this. And this shows that this was the 6/9/2022 update of the text. So
Okay.
I don't know if maybe Long Hill previously had already had a divergence from that. Because again, we came in to modify Long Hill. And so that was where we did the major, minor. And so I can't exactly speak to that. But this is again, the text that we submitted back to the township after our meeting that kind of became of record.
Because then I was looking at the addendums and the things that were written in when the first approval did come through. And you can maybe clarify for me. One of the statements was that there would not be more than 6 houses in a row without there being a side load garage,
So that's what we spent a whole lot of time with
right?
last
But what was
spring.
the resolution? Because I don't understand that.
So the compromise was that every house on the eastern half is side load and none on the western half they're all front load.
And where's that text?
That should be what we're looking at here.
It's
I did not see that. Yeah, I didn't see any commitment except for there would not be more than 6 in a row front load. That's the only thing in writing that I saw.
Some of that might have to go with the plan that was approved. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know I'm from curveballs,
Yeah.
but
There is on page 10 of the summary that you included in this document, all lots within sub-area A will include side load garages, which is 165 lots, which is over 38% of the total lots.
Correct.
Like Darcy, I'm concerned because there's like 15 in a row across from one another, that's 30 homes that have garages facing one another the whole way down. In the original document, Long Hills, was that there would be no more than 6 in a row that were front loaded within a separator of a side loader in between. So that was kind of like a compromise if you broke up the development. That's what I think she's referring to.
Yeah. That's all, that, without a doubt, that is what we spent the bulk of our time talking through and working through.
We is not us, I don't think. We're
Correct.
talking about the trustees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
'Cause
'cause we
that's
don't
where-
have that text.
Yeah, we didn't get that notes included in this document to know that those changes are there, because she had that question, I did too, because, and I don't mean to take your thunder, because originally side load was type A was gonna be 8%, type B was 25%, and type C was gonna be 50%, but there were never any numbers giving about what each of those type houses were. And now I don't even see a type C, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
and that's where this is a little bit nuanced, because this submission is specific for section 2. So we have a whole separate submission that was for our Berlin Farm West, aka Long Hill Final Development Plan.
So we don't have section 2 here.
You have specifically
That's
section
all we have
two.
is
This
section
is
two.
just section two.
So that's maybe why it feels like there's things that like, 'cause we have exhibits that talk about section A, section B, but that's not included here because that's not specific. There's a set criteria for what's to be included in the final development plan, which is again, specific to this phase two, section two.
And then early last week, I asked for the map because it kept referring in this document, specifically for this, it said, see exhibit I2 open space plan. It's not in this document.
Correct, because that's the zoning text from the final development plan for the entire site that was approved last June. And so that referenced this document that was included in the final development plan. So there's a whole separate the plan that was approved last year.
But this particular document that you shared with us doesn't say, even though you mentioned, I think verbally, where it says the Grange, that's a dividing line for section A and section B. And I'm assuming section A is on the, I don't want to assume anything at this point.
Right.
Which is it? Is it the left or the right side is A or B? And
I don't recall
this map itself, this dividing line is great that we now know what lots go with what sub-area, but which is which? This map doesn't show. Doesn't it?
I was,
I can look on the phone.
I would say it's, I don't know.
That's what
Wait, the Market Gardens,
market,
I don't know.
which is Market Garden? Is that A or B? And I don't mean to take you.
Oh, please,
I
yeah.
had the same
I know.
questions that you had.
That was the first section.
It's gotta be a period.
Through sub-area A
It's
is,
supposed to be a period.
What else?
Because
phase one is A, so that's
it's
it.
down here.
That's all there is.
Well,
That's sub-area A.
names and road names.
Yeah, I know.
Sub-area B is
Because they were-
Well, I don't like to guess on these things. I want.
Yeah, but I don't, this,
It's right here. It's in the sub-area A and B.
Which tab is that under?
And it's under E1. So it's the end of E1.
which one? E1?
E1, the map shows the sub-areas.
Oh, okay, so A is on the right-hand side,
E's up at the top.
and B is on the left-hand side. And we're here to talk about A? Is that what you said?
It's hard to say what really lives in A because of that dotted line. It's probably sub-area B, but we're at the bottom of that, what is it, the 85 homes or 55 homes?
Yeah, there's home number, there's lot numbers on this diagram. It would have been nice to have it matched that.
Yeah, and it doesn't match this number. So it's like the color one, it's like 310, it's all these plus this.
So A is the eastern half, and we call that Aberdeen, and those are 80-foot minimum lots. And some area B that were in 75-foot minimum lots, and it's called Lynch Road.
And the B are the ones that all are front load garages?
That's correct.
All of them are probably.
All of them.
So
So no side loaders at all
In B.
in B.
that's all of this.
So that's 200.
That's all of this, right? This is all.
269. Yeah,
But
'cause
phase one came down below too, right? Patricia and Way, so it's just from there up. So the hard line, that's.
yeah, you've already gotten phase one approved with 52 homes. I think that was a couple months ago.
Yes.
And now this is for 55 more, so we're up to 105, and none of them are for side loaders.
A portion of phase one is the street that goes to the east along the bottom.
The east, that would be the Patricia and Way that has the side loaders.
I'm so confused about what this is.
Yeah, I think this is phase one, and then phase two is it.
Phase one went over too, Jerry, it goes all the way over here.
It goes all the way
It
over.
goes like east and west.
Wraps around.
So that's all these homes.
Oh, it goes around those homes in the church.
Exhibit E1 is a good one to show you.
It goes T1 through T35. How many homes did you have in there? Oh, plus
52, it says.
Yeah, that's it, that's all of them. So it's from here down and then above.
So I see phase one, like you said, but some of those appear to be siloed in phase one.
Correct. Everything east of, on exhibit E1, everything east of that middle line are the side lots.
Everything.
All of those.
So lots 11 through T12 are going to be siloed.
T1 through T12 are side loaded, then T142 or 42 to T52 would be side loaders.
Thank you, okay, that's helpful. So my biggest problem again is the groups that are up in that 60, the numbers, and I'm gonna read these off, but it might have changed since we did this, from 68 to 107 are all front loader garages in this circle in sub-area B.
Everything that's inside of the thick black mortar.
Yes.
53 through 107
Oh, I started at the bottom, I'm sorry. Yeah, 53 to 107.
are all front loaders.
Yeah, and all facing one another, directly across from one another. And that was kind of mine, looking at the maps, it just looked kind of cluttered and small. Like you said, they're 80-foot lots, the front.
Sub-area Bs are 75. I think you got the site statistics on the right side there for sub-area B, 75, and then it's got the lot area as well.
It's 75 by 150, I think, is that fair enough? Yeah, which comes out to right at 1/4 of an acre each lot.
1,120 bucks.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, that makes it a little bit clearer. I'm gonna go back to you guys. See if you
No,
do it.
that's fine, but, and I'm confused, but these lot numbers don't match, so that,
They
you know,
don't.
to make it easier to figure out. So, okay, so they're all siloed, which I'm taking your word for the fact that you've negotiated this, so.
Get done.
Okay, 'cause we did not get that language or text or change from the agreement
Addendum in
that
this
we voted
document.
on, so that makes it tricky. So yeah, just know next time you come,
I'll be back for phase 3, I'm sure, sooner than later.
we just want the context. And then Jerry, I think I'm gonna let you speak to, there was some language on page 1.
Yeah. The second paragraph in your summary, introductory summary, I'll just read it. It talks about the zoning resolution, Berlin Township, the zoning resolution, which is, I have it here somewhere, our book that we work from. It then comes in and says, in the event of a conflict between the standards in the text and those found within the zoning resolution, it says the standards in this text shall govern. Let me make a comment about that. That means that Jake has to have several books in there to be guidelines for doing resolution. We have one zoning book for Berlin Township, was my first gut feeling about that. And this kind of overrides that. I have not seen that text before in any approved plan that I've ever done.
So I look at text like this every day, and it's typically included in any PRD, because the idea with a PRD is that we're creating text specific for this piece of land. And so the intent with that is, let's make up a number. Let's say the minimum size of yard or frontage in your zoning code is 100 feet. Maybe that is what it is in R3. This is now prescribing specific to Long Hill, the minimum is what is stated in the text. So now when this plan comes in, as you see this evening, or when Jake is going to look at side yard encroachments, it's all about specific to this.
And usually what I've seen in the past, there's those known as divergence to the Berlin zoning resolution book, not a separate document that has separate guidelines. That's what I meant.
Jake could probably speak better, but I mean, our Pine subdivision, Maiden Meadows, all of those are gonna have specific text that he has to govern to. Is that a fair statement?
Go back to what you're
What we're
saying.
talking about, Jake, is the fact that if they say it's a minimum of 75 foot of frontage, where our text actually shows 80 feet in the zoning text, and there is no divergence, that means it's a violation, is what I would think. But if you have to go to this document to determine what is a violation, that's two different books that you have to maintain, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, so like when, say this book will say certain side yard setbacks are going to differ from what is actually in the text itself. And it would just come to the basis of whether that was approved or not. That's why I go back to these certain books or the plot plan itself to check what was approved on that development plan for the side yard setbacks, frontage, anything that regards to the property itself.
Most of the developments that I've seen up at this point has a large blueprint plan that lists those divergences so that you can quickly do that instead of having to pull out the old text and new text.
Yeah, 2 and 2. I mean, one I can go and check the resolution, and sometimes that will conform correctly with what the development plan shows. Sometimes it's going to differ a little bit, so that's why I check both whenever I am approving a house or anything of that matter.
Okay. Yeah, that was just something that I don't think we've ever had a development this large in Bruin Township before. It says 434 houses are going to be there. It was 480 to 531. It's going in the right direction for us, but obviously we're trying to make sure that we're getting a quality product. That's the one that I've had in there.
I wanted to ask about the price point on this specific section.
On what we call it, average, whatever the west side went from. If I had a magic answer to this, I wish I knew. I would expect these homes to be in the 500s. There might be some that have a foreign front, but if I were, just based on what we're selling on, I get that it's not on any of your maps, but we're open on the east side in Berlin Farm, and we're selling houses squarely in the 6s and up, and so that's why I would expect these to come in slightly below that.
I don't have further questions.
I guess, Andy, for fairness to everybody, can you briefly or anyway explain what the trustees said about the idea of not having section B having any side loaders?
So I think it was really in the context of the situation. So Long Hill was approved with a plan that someone could have gone and built the 480 some houses with no real buffers, houses right up against the railroad tracks, not really any great open space or path connectivity. And so really, when MI came in, our zoning memo that went out was a reduction in lots and an increase in open space. And I think those were really the things that resonated. And then combined with all of these houses over here are going to be side loaded, which I think you said was 35%. So that kind of got us to the third that typically we see in the township. And so I think combined with the great amenity, the open space, and the conservation of the rural feel with the big buffers is largely what got us to be at a good point.
My only concern with that is that there's an area of 269 homes that are going to be like a development of a bunch of garages. And not everybody keeps them pristine. My wife likes ours that way, but it doesn't always land that way. But opening all those garage doors at the same time, we wanted some diversity, is what originally was planned. And before, even though they didn't have a plan, Long Hill, there was an 8 to 25 and 50% of type A, B, and C. It was pretty clear that we could say, yeah, we're going to get side load. And it also had where there wouldn't be more than 6 homes in a row that would have front load garages. So that's my recollection of what kind of happened back then.
I think the other thing we talked through was the varying of, not all of our houses have the garage at the same location on the front, so some have a little bit more forward, some have a little more back, so it does create some level of, it's not what I think you think in your mind of just all straight down in a rise, in a row. So there's some level of, and then also we have 3 different elevation styles within each plan. So we have a traditional, we have a farmhouse, and we have a craftsman. So each of those then start to introduce some different architectural elements. So kind of, and then we also then have different colors that we don't let go next door or across the street. And so kind of you throw it all in the blender. We have
It's a mixture of neighborhoods, but there's just all the garages are still
I hear you, yep.
Okay. Janet,
You know, I did, I'm sorry. I was reading, once again, I went back to 2019 to refresh my memory. There was a lot of discussion about the enclave. Is that still part of this?
That's not.
And did it go away or did it split off into a different?
So the enclave was the empty nester section that
Right,
was
like-
right across the street from ONTNG, Berlin High School and the railroad tracks. And we sell houses every day as our business, and we just didn't believe that to be that buyers would be interested in that location for that type of product. So in part of the planned refresh, the enclave went away.
Because some of the language surrounding that was the enclave was going to have its own pool. They would not be able to have a playground. And then there was going to be a pool / some kind of central greeting meeting place. Did those things go away?
So we now have one awesome centralized amenity that we're building in a handful of places around town that we think looks really, really good. It's gonna be something that you got kids or grandkids, they're gonna be hanging out there in the summer because it's a pool, but then it also has an open air pavilion, and we have cornhole and playgrounds, and it's got a really, really great looking feel. Again, since this was only for section 2.
Right.
Jake and his mind may have a picture
Okay.
he can pull
Yeah, it
out.
just seemed like things changed and we, once again, are a little not knowing.
I'm trying to
how
remember,
changes work.
did we come to you at all for this project?
No, I think
I
this
don't
went to
think for the
to
final.
the trustees. We voted on it for the preliminary 4 years ago.
So
And
we
then,
never came back to you when we did the
Not that I
spring?
recall.
I don't think so.
Right.
This, we voted on this.
No, phase
Yeah.
one we did,
Oh,
phase
okay.
one we did, but just all these
Right.
things that have morphed a little bit, I don't think we've.
So I thought we
Oh, wait,
came to
I thought phase one went to the trustees, I don't think we did.
We definitely voted, I
We did
remember the
vote on
market
something.
garden and all of the Grange and all that, I don't know what phase it was, but we voted on this before the preliminary.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah,
I think it was
voted on
phase
this
one,
before.
so, but some of these, like I said, bigger
But
changes.
the labeling and the names have
It's
changed.
just, there's so many phases, it's, I don't know what phase it's what.
Absolutely. And that's where this, because again, this is about one phase, and you guys weren't privy to the full picture
Right.
that got big last June at the trustees. I can
Right.
see where there's the little bit of disconnect. So on our section 3, I'll try to do a better job of kind of pulling it.
Sorry, go back one.
Yeah,
Yeah, let us know what, because sections are great.
Where are you going next? To the.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was some that had said 3A and 3B, and the phases had changed to protect somebody, but it
And
was.
it's more so a function of engineering that when they get into it, and, oh, the sewer line needs to stop here, you gotta build this basin, and it's well above my purview, but EMH&T ultimately tells us, you need to draw the line here, and so sometimes they shift. So we totally disclaim on the preliminary plan, phase lines could shift, but largely we keep them in sync.
So for just a second, I want to go to the overall picture again of what used to be Long Hill. Now, Berlin Farms East wasn't part of any of this.
No.
Because that's like 50-some homes on the other side of what will be Piatt's Road,
98, yes.
98 homes. And then here's another 434 that was Long Hill, but now it's Berlin Farms West.
Yes, and to the consumer, it will all be Berlin Farm. They'll all know it to be one big happy community, both the east and the west side. The east people will have access to the amenity. We got paths connecting them, so it'll all, in 7 years from now, it'll live like one cohesive community.
So the cohesiveness or the Berlin Farms, I want to just ask about a couple of the things that were there a year ago. And do they still exist in any of the phases that you're going to go through over the next few years? A silo, a barn / clubhouse, and then rental land that was originally, this was called agri-hood. I don't know if you know that word. But it got beat in because we'd never had one of those before. And this was going to be that first community to do that. And the silo was going to be kind of a staple that kind of said, oh, it's the old time stuff. Even though the houses in this case are very tightly woven, there was a lot of open space, which I see that, but I don't see that barn and the farm stuff.
Can I snag your binder first?
Yeah, I was just looking at the phase map here.
Yeah.
All that recon.
research.
So, couple different items. So the silo has now moved to be at our central pool house, pool and clubhouse. So it's all part of that, the central amenity that'll be right smack dab in the middle of the development. And then separate from that is we are keeping the outdoor. So here's our preliminary draft of how that's gonna lay out
The market garden.
in the market garden.
So that's a
So that's in
huge
front.
Correct.
That's a-
And so here, and then we also have a north garden all the way up here that, we've had some dialogue with
I like
Zach.
that picture, but I don't see, is that,
The north garden is way,
well, that says J, what is it?
So, again, this is all from our approved preliminary plan
that's.
through the trustees, so a totally separate binder. So since that wasn't part of the content that is required for a section final development plan, the binder will be this big.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we can maybe get them a copy of those
Jake,
binders.
Let me interrupt you. That 3 hours I spent earlier today going through all that stuff, I didn't see that. Was that part of the documents that you shared?
This, I don't know if this is what Kathy.
Okay, well, I have three.
I know you looked through the long term, and then you looked through
The
another.
long
one, but I'm
book
not
is
sure.
this wide and that high.
It is irrelevant, for lack of a.
Well, and that's what we did not know.
Yeah.
And then this stuff with that, I love that, the look of that with the silo and the barn and all that. And I guess I wanted to make sure that we were still maintaining, because we negotiate a lot of stuff in 2018, which that's ages ago. But now trying to make sure that we're still somehow close to that.
And from my perspective, I think we really enhanced a lot of it. Yeah, there's not 2 pools, but 2 pools is a lot for an HOA to manage. So we really tried to centralize the amenity, and it really, obviously, proximity to everyone's the same distance from it. And then we brought the market garden vision to life. And then this is the northern garden that we've had some dialogue with Sackett Farm to the north on doing plantings that would be complementary to what she's doing on the other side of the property.
Let me ask you, back up a second with the pools, 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that because of the size of the pool, you have to have a person with a lifeguard for over a certain size. And there are pools right across the tracks that aren't even open because they can't get lifeguards. So 2 smaller ones might have been a better deal for the community.
Sure. So in state of Ohio, if your pool is 1,999 square feet, no lifeguard required. As soon as you hit 2,000 square feet, you now are required to have a lifeguard. And this is something we spend a lot of time on, looking at the size of the pool relative to the number of homeowners to have it balanced. We try to always build pools at 1,999 square feet. I don't know if we've made a determination here. With this number of homes, it feels like it might trigger going
Over
to
the
the
2,000.
going to the larger.
So having 1,500s, you'd be able to open and give the amenity to the residents, but with.
Yeah, then their HOA dues, because the maintenance then is gonna be. And so we're gonna build one that we haven't done a over 2,000 square foot one in over a decade. We're gonna do our first one in Plain City, and we've engaged a pool property management company that has committed to delivering us lifeguards. So we also are somewhat optimistic if we got 500 and some homes, that hopefully there's 2 teenagers that would be willing to have a good summer job right in their neighborhood.
You don't
So,
have any teenagers, do you?
I got an 18-month-old, but she acts like a teenager.
Jerry's retired.
It's a great
I
job.
thought-
Mostly native people.
I learned today that if you work at Zambezi Bay and you're a lifeguard in the wave pool, that you get trained for being a lifeguard. That's equivalent to working on like a beach in the ocean, because that's a whole different
Right.
level of training.
Well, I'm a lifeguard. I'm not doing it.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you for
Yes.
this context,
Of
because
course.
we're just kind of going, what?
I swear we, I
You
thought,
did come in for the first phase.
so I'm saying last summer, we didn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Last summer.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, wasn't there like a dog park up here?
I remember the north.
No.
Yeah,
But I don't remember the other changes.
No, that's this one, dog park up there.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
We have
We
one
came-
person.
We came in for a major, I think we came here first for was the modifications along with being major and minor. Maybe we did that with the trustees. And then I think we did with the trustees, and I think it came back to you.
I saw the minutes where, today in my research, where it had major circle. So it did go back to the trustees and then back through the process.
Spring.
June, it says June 9th of 22.
Was our last, I think our meeting was 5/16.
That was the trustees.
That was the trustees, so we would have seen you like probably March, April-ish.
I don't remember what
The
it was, I
last
know it
year?
was last year's. I remember. it was-
Maybe I was gone.
Okay, okay.
Anyway, I don't have any questions.
You don't have any? Okay, let me see. So the clubhouse silos and all the extras, including the pool, are still, can you tell me, unofficially, what phase that part is gonna be, that those amenities are gonna attract this aggregate?
So largely phase 2 gets us close, but it's probably gonna have to, if you look at where it stopped, we stopped just short of that, so,
One of the maps showed that it's like phase 5 or something, and I'm
you
like,
can see that like the top corner of T53 gets you pretty close to there, so it's one of those things where we don't wanna build it too early, and obviously we don't wanna build it too late, so if I were to take a guess, we're in 23, I would guess it would be constructed in 25, if I were taking my best guess today.
and probably my biggest peeve, is that a right word, can I use that on the speakers? And I don't know if you know, so.
Can't put enough in front of
Okay, darn you. She's good. The biggest area I want done is the southwestmost corner, where is affectionately known as our, there's a lot of clutter there. That's part of one of the phases, but it's not phase 2. It's the farthest thing to the south. This right here, because there's the tracks, right? And this area, right here, it's.
So we don't own some of that. That's some of the new ones, because we have to keep legal frontage, there's a strip that comes, I don't know exactly where it is. If you look on the auditor's map, we don't own a lot of this.
Okay, well, I thought you owned, from one of the maps that I saw, I thought that property was eventually.
Eventually, yes. Some of it's still getting farmed, some of it's maybe not what you're talking about, but we don't own.
It's right next to the tracks.
Yeah, we definitely do not own right next to the track, I can say that.
Okay, you got a price point of 500K, density, we already discussed. I think that's all that I had, was my main concern again, was the side of the garages and varying the homes. And there is a section where you have 5 X's and an O, meaning that none of, every house, all 5 around them will be different. Good.
Yes, so we call that our diversity, so.
Let me find it. Okay, it's on page 8.
Yeah, so let's say this is a straight street, house O, let's say it's a Andy elevation farmhouse. None of the X's can be that Andy plan with the farmhouse elevation,
For all,
all the exits.
all the X's.
Well, all the others.
Yeah,
So,
O is the.
O is a house, but the 5 around it, none of them will ever be 2 identicals.
Will not be the same as O. And then obviously as if you're then thinking about this lot, then that then applies.
Right, each house is gonna have
Each house, this is
diversity around them.
You got it.
So I guess that's kind of, I'm gonna say it's kind of like side road, but it is varying a little bit.
We spent a lot of time again with the trustees going, we call that duplication or monotony, so that, because if all the consumers love the exact same floor plan and exact same exterior style, guess what, they'll have a street that'll just be all the same. So we do that even when it's not part of the back and forth, because we think it helps make a better looking community, which is ultimately what we care about.
Okay, I beat it to death already. So, Jake, do you have anything? At this point, I guess you're looking for us to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, community people, I forgot.
So we would appreciate it, being recognized a little.
I'll recognize you as much as I can, sir, I'm sorry. Please.
There are some issues.
Okay,
May we have a copy of that map? That's there. Thanks. The first thing I want to bring up, my name's Dan Jacobs, 1983 Gregory Road, Berlin Station. I'm at the corner of Berlin and Gregory. Well, the first thing I wrote down, the access road that they put in front of Jeff's house, the gravel, the tile, the drainage tile for the ditch is still up underneath the trees. The drainage from the church west is plugged up by that gravel. Is that going to continue that way, or is that going to get fixed?
Jake, I'll ask you, who do we have that monitors the effect of the land?
So, me and Jesse, which is the road superintendent,
Oh.
me and Jesse, the road superintendent, we can take a look at where the drain tile is, because he'll have to eventually approve that.
We have drainage problems in
You
that
will,
neighborhood.
you will have to eventually approve the drainage tile going in and making sure that everything's good for the drive. In regard
The
to.
tile has been engineered, it's already on the site.
Mhm.
The gravel's already in, they didn't put the tile in.
If
If they put the tile in, it's packed with stone.
Well, then I'll talk to the road superintendent about that to see what's going on, if he had already approved that drainage tile to be in there. Because he will approve every driveway that goes in, regardless of where it's going in.
I'm talking about the road that goes in.
Right, the gravel road that goes in, yeah, there's a drainage tile within that drain, and that has to be approved previously to then be able to put it in and putting the stone over top of that drainage.
So in
So
the
if it's been approved, I'll talk to.
in the meantime, there'll be no drainage.
What do you mean by that? If the drainage tile is in,
The ditch is full of gravel for 60 feet. So how does water get from one side to the other? That's my question.
there will be a tile or drainage pipe that's.
That goes through the vent.
Well, that's what I'll talk to Jesse to see if there is already pipe in there, because it would have had to been approved previously for them to put the gravel over top of that. So Jesse, I'll talk to Jesse, the road superintendent. to see
Dan,
if they have done that.
have you contacted the zoning office prior to this meeting? It's just a question, sir.
And the question is,
Have you contacted the zoning office prior to this meeting about this issue?
no,
Okay,
am I out of order?
no, you're not out of order, sir. I'm just trying to make sure that we're taking the proper steps to solve issues as they come up. And if this is something that's been going on for a month or two, that that's what we have the zoning and the road superintendent to come out and not only monitor or supervise, but make sure that you don't have problems like
So
this.
this is a county issue, not a township.
I didn't say that. The road superintendent is Township. Jesse is an employee of Berlin Township. But if he didn't know that you guys were suffering or having a problem with the drainage until tonight, we have to, Jake will take that back. I'm sure, I don't want to say tomorrow because I don't know what his schedule's like, but immediately deal with any issues that cause a hardship to existing residents. That's what we're here for. So I appreciate the comment, but I just want to make sure that the proper channel would be to contact the zoning office as soon as you feel you've been violated or something has happened to your property.
I would like to make a point about that.
That's fine. Identify yourself by name and.
Terry Jordan, Terry spelled T-E-R-I-J-R-D-A-N, 2862 Berlin Station, we're right across the street. And I guess we're all a little behind on this because a few years ago, we came to the meetings and all that, and it was Long Hill, and they told us that there would not be a or any kind of driveway right across from our property. Apparently that's not turned out to be true, and I'm not happy about that at all. They also told us that the lot sizes were gonna be like at least an acre or more, I believe is what the township was. I may have that wrong. But the point was, the things that we were told then apparently did not turn out to be true. And in the meantime, I have a landline phone from Frontier. It's been out of order for 4.5 weeks. And they tell me it's because of the construction. And they've given me no indication at this point when it will be repaired. Now, I do have a cell phone, but there are reasons why we keep our landline. And they claim that it had to do with the construction, the building, and the digging and whatnot. And I'm still waiting to get my phone line back up. And I am concerned that any more of this stuff is going to be a problem with our utilities, because every time they dig something and put something like that, when they did the school and they did everything else, then something else went wrong. So, whether it's electricity or cable or whatever, I am very concerned that this is a situation that they figure, well, it's only gonna affect 1 or 2 people or whatever, then it doesn't matter, but it does. This is right across the street from my house. And I'm not happy about that, but I can't do anything about that, but I would like not to be inconvenienced by it.
And my name again is Jerry Valentine. I apologize because I am a resident in Berlin Township as well, and I'm here to serve you guys. Sorry, but we want to make sure that you don't lose anything on your current property. I was in the meeting that they said right across the street, your bedroom, all the lights coming in and out, and they were going to negotiate. Even in this text, it mentioned that they were going to work. Long Hill, was going to work with the residents to make sure that there wasn't a road coming right out against her driveway or bedroom of the house that sits there on 1 acre. That part that you mentioned, it's PRD with R3, which the density is 1.85 units per acre, but because it's a PRD overlay, they can have it as small as 10,890 square feet per lot, but they can't have over the density for the entire property, which in this case, I'm gonna cheat because it's actually 434 lots on the acreage is here. Let me get back to it.
And I'm concerned about the buffer too. I mean, we don't want to have to look in across the street and, if there's gonna be some nice trees and stuff, that would be very helpful. But having the driveway right across from our property, people already throw trash in our yard.
Yeah, I don't, in this case, it's a road, not a driveway, was my biggest concern,
Okay, yeah.
because it houses a total of 434 houses. And the entrance will be the New Piatt's or Berlin Station are the 2 entry points and exits.
And it is the one on Berlin Station that I am concerned about. And, our road's not that wide. And it's just gonna be a lot of traffic, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of traffic now, more so than there were. So we talked about this with Long Hill, and I don't know really what the differences are between the two, developers. I don't think it makes that much difference. It's just that it is affecting Dan's property, it's affecting, Michelle and Brad who live next to us, and it just affects all of us. And I'm sorry if that's been repeated a bit much times, but
It's
it's
fine, it's
disturbing.
fine. That's what we're here for. It's just, I want to apologize that you're inconvenienced. We will do what we can to help. Yes, Dennis.
Especially getting my utilities, keeping them from.
Yeah, that criteria, I don't know what the utility companies do about that, or whether they work.
Frontier should be working with MI to fix the problem.
I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I get the PR people who, and I do PR, so I get it. But I mean, I just think the PR people who apologize and say they're working on it, but they don't really tell you.
how they're gonna fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, our phone's been out since July 21st.
There's a time now,
Or
it's a
20.
season on
I don't know how I'd ask to talk to their manager when you talk to PR stuff every time, because you gotta get to that right level, but I would also challenge MI to try and help keep the neighbors happy when they're doing it. That's,
I mean, I'm very concerned, like if something happened, I can't imagine it would, but like internet, because I work from home, so if it's utilities, that it's happened more than once, every time something is built in the neighborhood, that either the power goes down or the phones go down, and so construction, I get it, but come on. Thank you, sir.
yeah.
You mentioned the silo.
Yes, sir.
I've been to all the meetings, and I've never heard that word, silo. My question is, where is it located on the,
Jake, can you share that? I think it was Jake.
and the second question regarding the silo is that going to be
Not a
galvanized?
functional, it's not a functional one, sir. It was
Decorative.
asked-
It's a decorative sign.
It's a decorative silo. It's gonna be part of, I guess, the recreation area, the center. There's like 9
It's
acres.
small, it's not a big.
How tall is it?
15, 20 feet.
30 feet maybe at the most. It's not gonna be.
Concrete or block or?
Aluminum.
Dan, you wanna look at that picture that he's got right there? That is the community, that's the center of this entire community. Because the last thing, Annie, I'll ask you, is that enclave or that age community, I didn't know that was gonna go, so somehow we need to communicate a little bit better with the phases and the overall plan. If we have a book on that.
Yeah, I'll see if we can make you copies
Well,
of that.
maybe include that in phase 3 so we know the background all the way back. Because we're doing 50 at a time.
You should have been notified via a letter. You were on our mailing list when we came in last spring, so I'm not sure why.
I didn't see
I
it.
usually keep track of those things.
Yeah.
Alright, so you didn't.
And then I'm Jeff Jordan, I'm her husband.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if you know the answer to this. We've got utility flags up in the, parking flags, right across where Long Hill comes to Berlin Station. Do you know, is there gonna be digging there, is there gonna be in the yard
On the south side.
on the south side of Berlin Station?
So I don't know specifically. I do know the county is planning a widening project up to the railroad track.
That's news to me too.
Right up there.
So that, I don't know if that's something related to our project or to the county's
Okay.
widening project. I don't know the timeline for the widening.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's within the right of way, so.
Right, it's the gas lines and the water line and I presume there's
There's a tile next. Well, there's a tile there, but they need to fix that when they do that widening because his property is flooding.
I mean, up in that corner, man.
I mean,
Up in that corner.
I want to put a rain garden there, it's so bad.
I have another question.
Yes, yes.
Is there uplighting permitted in this subdivision?
Downlight.
Say, well, one of the divergences for signage did mention uplighting.
Just on the model.
On the model homes. There's
There's
up
a
to,
little, this is like a sign.
there's up to 5 model homes that are allowed during construction of this development. And on the signs itself, I think it talked about the looms and the upside down, but it's a normal neighborhood where most of the lighting would be from the homes, outdoor lights. There are street signs.
There's no uplighting permitted, correct?
Just on the model homes, why they're.
Okay, all right. What about the sidewalks?
What about the sidewalks?
Yeah, the sidewalk. Will there be uplighting on that all night?
On the silo, I would say no.
I don't think
You
so.
don't permit that.
They didn't ask for any divergence in the original Long Hill nor the redo with MI for that particular thing. But again, that's another phase that when they come in, that's a good question.
And one last probably comment. When you were discussing with my homes here, what I was hearing was there was an approval of various details such as side loads and how many and where and how. In my understanding, or what I heard, was the trustees made a deal, and you guys didn't know about changing where those side loads and front loads, how many were not, all in a row and so forth. Is that, I also heard, I think, that their project, this east, which is not part of Long Hill, that they negotiated part of Long Hill's approved plan as a trade-off to something over there. I don't know if you're following me.
I am, and let me explain what I think you're getting to and my feeling as well. Long Hill was the original one in 2018 that got that rezoned to R3 in the densities.
Right.
MI bought Long Hill's investment, is what I understand.
Yes.
The east and west stuff, that's a developer's choice to name what they call it.
Right.
And they, in this whole process, another piece of land with 90+ homes was Berlin Farms, but that was then labeled Berlin Farms East. Then Piatt's Road is going to be continued, and that's where they dissect Berlin Farms West, which all used to be Long Hill, formerly Long Hill. Any of the agreements that were made, we as a zoning commission make recommendations of either to approve or deny a zoning request, and then it goes to the trustees for their approval, and then there's a 30-day period where they can do a referendum, the residents can, to say, we don't like this, what you trustees have approved. That did not happen. So now they're went to the trustees in 22. I'm aging at 5 years, sir, I'm sorry, but that, it's, a lot of things have modified. The high school wasn't there, the traffic study is from 2019, old traffic study. I know that's affecting you guys now, because I try going up and down that road, and it's changed. So we're trying to keep you guys, everyone happy, and I don't know how to answer the part that was Long Hill before and what's went away, but when I mentioned silo and all that, it was because of agrihood and wanting to make a diverse community within all of Berlin Township. And this was the very corner. One thing we got, it's not in Delaware now. I mean, it's still Berlin Township, sir. And right at the tracks, it does change. So we wanted to protect the interests of Berlin Township and have some control over it and work with the developer, in this case now MI. And this is this commission's first occurrence of that. and I'm almost as surprised as you are with some of the findings that are here. So I don't know what can we do, this silo, the standards that we set 5 years ago, and the work that MI has done in other communities, because there's a very large company. We've got to look at what they have and make decisions. That's what we can do, is we can, at the end of this, we can recommend approval or denial of this phase 2 until other changes are made. But it's my understanding that trustees have already done a lot of that, which I'm not aware of.
Well,
One last, we've been in the neighborhood, our families, for years. And when we look across the street, we always saw lawns that were mowed, okay? The last time I was in here, they were proposing that space off Berlin Station was going to be some kind of a natural habitat for weeds, okay? We don't want to look at some unkept property across the street. Now, I brought that up. I don't know if they've actually heard or listened or what they're going to do. But we are entitled, I think, to see something that's maintained, planted in some organization and mowed. Would you not agree with that?
yeah, and the one thing I wanted to point out was I looked at the map there. There's an awful lot of houses there. And if you double maybe each house with 2 cars coming in out of there, I realize it's during a phase of different years and all that. That's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of traffic on Berlin Station Road, right in front of our house, in front of Dan, in front of the folks next door. And it's just a lot of houses for this piece of land that doesn't really look that big.
They did an official traffic study, so they've done the work.
Well, that was a few years ago.
And they have to project out 5 or 10 years. They have to project their impact of how many cars they're gonna put in.
And it's less houses than Longmont.
Yeah, but you reduced it somewhat.
Well, I appreciate your listening to me and not happy about all that congestion that's going to be coming that way.
How often do you contact the Frontier about your phone?
Oh, the guy emails me like every other day. And I'm gonna tell you what, I've got Frontier guys on my contact list. They give me their regular cell phone numbers.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, we're all my first meetings. You know, my name's Gary. Oh, okay, great, you know.
How did they try to trunk line so much?
In so much as you said that in this phase 2, this diagram where it has the entire Berlin Farms map, it shows where your houses are that you're talking about. It shows open space of 61 acres with ponds that isn't there today. Maybe that would help the drainage, as well as the green space that looks like it's 30 to 40 feet from the road to the first group of residences that's going to be the next phase, is what I can see there. I had read where in one of the documents that the homeowners association was taking care of the dark green.
So there's a no-mo.
Yeah, it's
See, this lighter green is no, this darker green is.
darker green
just
says it's a
no.
no mo.
So it is in a no-mo. The dark green is no-mo?
Yeah, the stuff in front of them are no.
So all that abutting the road is no-mo?
Right across the street from them.
And it is concerning.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, it seems a little, it says no mo. So that's all we love.
I would imagine for our community presentation, there'll be some mowing.
Adjustment made to that, because the homeowners association, and they have a bunch of the lighter green, which is the open space inside of the community with houses in the backyards and such. That it doesn't look like most of the individuals are gonna have their own, anything to mow.
Okay, I should put mode.
Yeah, but that's not part of it.
Even if it's not
We'll
turf.
talk about that debate. I understand, okay. Well, we've got some things to go back to. I think Jake will contact the road superintendent.
Yeah, I'll talk with Jesse tomorrow about
See how we
drainage
can-
issues, so that we can figure that out as
If
soon as
they've
possible.
got a clogged drain, I think it's,
Well, if there's any debris or anything of that matter, if you see any debris out there within the construction zone of any sort,
That's a rock,
within the,
plug it both
and if there is any of that, then I'll double check. I'll go back
That'd
again
be great.
tomorrow.
I'll shoot you our onsite supervisors.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Information, so you guys can help you out and reach out there and look at it.
Yeah, me and Jesse will try to set up a meeting with them so that we can go out there and talk about it, if things square away for the homeowners.
and as far as the lighting, the road, now gravel driveway, as you call it, out, I saw how I thought they adjusted it, because I drove by again today to see how that was moving ahead, but it is close, I don't know.
So when we, just for backup, when we took over Long Hill, we effectively, minus keeping some of the elements, went from scratch. So it was a modification to the plan, so. And so we weren't in those meetings to have heard conversations. And throughout our process, there were certainly homeowners to the north, I know for sure, on the flag lots that came and we talked through mounting and fencing and different components. And so there were certainly public notices that went out, and we engaged with a lot of adjacent property owners.
Didn't Longview have fewer houses?
No, they had more, 531 was the original number for Long Hill. Went from 531 down to 482, and now it's down to 434, so they're going in the right direction. And actually, they're allowed by our zoning text in a R3, 1.85 per net developable acre, they're allowed 438, but don't tell him I said that, because he could have 4 houses.
Section 9's coming in.
Section 9.
More lots.
Yeah, and so using the current zoning text that we work from, the acreage that they have, the net developable came up with 1.85 to 438 homes. So, how they arrange that is where we can, I don't know whether we can convince anything, but we can try and negotiate for the current residents. There's privacy and also safety of this area. So that house, because the other direction, and I'm changing the subject, Evans Farms is coming up with 2,500 homes up to almost, I think it ends at Hyatt's Road, no, Peach Grove Road is where, that's in 25, so it's coming both directions. No.
Well, anybody wanna buy our property? It's got 5 acres and it's
You know, it's,
$10 million. Yeah.
hopefully your values are all going up, because as he mentioned, these are $500,000 homes, so I don't think it's gonna be.
You have to buy another $500,000.
Earlier
What do
today,
you
Gosh, that's to me is like, this is Delaware, I can't imagine that.
yeah,
You go to New York.
and
it's-
Olentangy school system, so yeah, the two of them. So at this point, do you have any more questions, guys?
Thank you very much.
No, we will do what we can. I'm sure Jake's gonna work on the drainage issue, and I'm gonna have a conversation with the trustees. And you might be talking to somebody else next, but that's all.
So, just to clarify, did you want it mowed? I know you said you can.
They like it mowed.
So can you make sure that it's over by the entrance across from, it's indicated that it would be a no-mow area? Changing it, okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that it would be mowed on that side. I mean, if that's one thing we can do.
There was, not to harp on the conversation with the trustees, but there was a lot of dialogue, particularly one of the trustees, about having the amount of no-mow to keep that rural feel and to limit the amount. Sackett Farm was present and to not have lawn mowers mowing all this open space that would create pollution and oils into the soil and everything else. So
Right.
we beat it up.
That's a great, really, people throw trash over there and.
We have neighbors on Gregory Road who mow the railroad right away on the west side of Gregory. Not their property, but from our house all the way down. One of us is mowing that.
Okay,
We want the neighborhood to look nice. We wanted it, we've done that for years. I've mowed his grandfather's place behind me where the beans are and the corn and so forth, because his grandfather always did it. He took pride in the neighborhood. We're just asking that you guys take a little pride too. We don't need a bunch of wild whatever growing over there, and it looks like, that pond, if it's not maintained in that corner, you're gonna have weeds growing up and all kinds of stuff on the shoreline. It's gotta be taken care of.
I think that's the homeowners association that takes responsibility for that.
We added fountains at the request of one of the trustees specifically, so.
So I think if the adjacent landowners are specifically requesting that specific area that's right across from them, not, be mowed.
I would say we have more of an interest than anyone
Right.
having it.
Yeah.
Because you gotta sell them all first.
Right.
You got it.
And then move forward. Okay. I think we've said all we can. It doesn't mean I'm not still surprised, but you've clarified some things for us. At this point, I think we make a motion to recommend the approval.
I don't think this goes to the trustees. I think this is the final.
Yeah, it doesn't go to the
Oh, it doesn't go to the trustees? So we're making a motion to approve phase 2. And do you need me to read all that stuff out again?
No, it's just,
All you do is just the BZ 1803, that's all. For records.
the final development plan for section 2, BZC 18-003.
What she said. BZC 18-003. I make a motion to approve it.
Seconded.
Okay.
Did you have any conditions?
I don't know how to have a condition.
The mowing, that area would not be mowed or that would be mowed, and was there
Oh,
anything else?
Outside the purview though of section.
It's seasonal section
Yeah, it's
2.
not in there.
Oh, that's what
Section 2 is way up inside. This is, the road is everything.
Oh, okay.
They just have to do a
So
good
when you
will.
approve that,
I know where to find this.
Yeah, that's goodwill.
okay, any other, no conditions then? No.
Something we can hold them to based on what the documents that we have.
Yeah, can't really do anything. Okay, sorry, who seconded that?
Keith did it.
Keith, okay. Let's see, Mr. Valentine,
No.
Mr. Goshen,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan,
Yes.
and Ms. Slows.
Yeah.
And just as a side comment, mine was because of the side of the garage, there's 55 homes all facing one another, I just can't get over that.
I'll grab your email after we leave and send you the minutes from.
Okay, that would be
So
helpful.
you can kind of see how the dialogue.
I'd love to see those, yeah.
I've spent in the last 2 weeks about 8 hours going through all the old documents. I didn't.
Oh, they waste your time. I know exactly the awkward side of the ones that you.
Well, and they advertised me, and then you also had one of the maps I'm thinking about, that one went type A, B, C, and another one went different phases, and I had a hard time getting the right ones together, but again, I'm
gonna get all of you copies of the final binder that we had that had the silo exhibits and all that, so that you have that kind of as a baseline to kind of reset what Long Hill is, because Long Hill doesn't exist anymore. And then when we come in for section 3, hopefully it's a
Well,
much simpler
And
conversation.
it kept saying, see exhibit I to open space plan. It wasn't in this book
Correct.
at all.
And
Okay.
there's probably other exhibits too, but.
Well, it referred to stuff that I like, so, okay, but thank you for.
And did
so-
the enclave go away at the same time these other things happened? Was this all one big?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah,
it
that's
came,
the first I've heard of that.
we came in with the plan, more or less as you see, it was deemed major or minor. I swear it was you guys that
We
did
might
that.
have made a determination about whether it was major or minor, but then it went to the trustees.
And
So
so-
I mean, we don't have that, we don't have those minutes or anything,
Yeah,
so.
so then so basically we came in with the new plan with, again, the highlights of the open space and lot reduction. And then spent, I think it was 3 or 4 meetings with the trustees, adding paths and open space and changing
Yeah.
layouts and
I
talking.
believe you,
Sidelines.
it's just, we,
Those meetings would be very helpful.
we don't have any of that stuff.
Because we did get copies of the minutes, at least. Kathy does good, attaching 2 of them, but the last one was July of 19. So
Yeah,
that's.
so totally before we even knew about the project.
Right, exactly. It was still long here. And Steve Snake. Yeah, those are the minutes that we had to do. Okay, it sounds like you got your. Okay, yeah, Jay, you got anything? The next regular scheduled meeting is September 12th. But Kathy told me that we currently don't have anything, but I'm proposing that we start our rewrite of the resolution book. We as a team can talk about some of the things that we need to do, because there's a lot of ambiguity between the new, and I think the trustees are approving it next week. The comprehensive land use.
That's,
plan.
yeah, I was gonna ask about where that's.
It got approved at the last trustee meeting, and so now they have to,
You mean the last commission?
not,
The one
we
we were
did
on.
it, it's going back to the trustees, yes. And then when they do that, the trustees want the resolution book to have the ambiguities taken out, like the density is a big one. But making sure that they do match.
Why is it a regular meeting?
The 12th, I'm sorry.
It's not every other week, and now we
It's
went.
the
skip-
second
Well, we did
and
the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month is what we do.
All right, I probably won't be.
And we have an extra month or an extra
Gotcha.
Tuesday in this month.
You just shift me off by 2 weeks, and I probably won't be here the rest of the year. I won't be here for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like scheduled every other week in New Jersey,
Oh, wow.
and now here. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, we did it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And we just
And
said,
that's-
second and fourth Tuesday of the month is the normal.
Actually, not every other.
Okay, but that's the only thing, and if I talk to the trustees and they're ready for that, then I'll let everyone know. But there's no openings, applications that Kathy has today. And we usually have to give 2 weeks notice anyway for the dispatcher. Okay, anything else, anybody? Motion to adjourn. We're out.
Second.
Thank you.
You guys are, I'll send you guys some
I'm
files.
sorry for haranguing you, but I was